Part 18. Adorable Baby, The Miracle Doctor is So Awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 171. After kneading the dough, set it aside to rest for a while, and take advantage of this interval to chop the stuffing. After the stuffing was mixed, Shenyazi rolled out the dough quickly. The dough is as thin as paper, translucent, yet very flexible and will not break easily. Shenyazi put the cut pile of wonton wrappers aside and continued to assemble the next pile. There were 7 of them in total, and each of them had a big appetite, so they had to prepare more. As soon as he turned around, he saw that Qingbao had already picked up the dough and started playing with it. Shenyazi took the dough that had been kneaded into a ball out of his hands and rolled it out again with a rolling pin. After a few strokes, it became a thin and intact wonton wrapper again. To make wontons, you only need to put the meat filling in and knead them together. It is very simple. Shenyazi believes that Qingbao will be able to do it. Instead of letting him cause trouble here, it is better to assign tasks to him and let him contribute a little bit. Baby, mother is here to teach you how to make wontons. Shenyazi showed him how to do it. Qingbao was very smart and could learn it as soon as he learned it. His fleshy little hands were very nimble. He pressed his 5 fingers together and a wonton was formed in his hand. It's just that the amount of fillings is a bit unclear. But after a few more packages, he basically mastered it. It was packed very quickly and well. Shenyazi turned to his side and kissed him loudly on the cheek. Qingbao is awesome. However, Qingbao was making wontons very seriously and Kikan didn't even raise his eyelids to her reward. Shenyazi's old mother's heart was suddenly seriously hurt. Hey, baby, don't you love your mother anymore? Your mother is so sad. Shenyazi pretended to cry. Qingbao sighed helplessly, turned around and hugged her face, and kissed her perfunctorily. Mom, don't make trouble, the baby is very busy. If we don't wrap up the wontons quickly, we will be hungry in the morning. The tone is as if a parent is preaching to an unreasonable child. Shenyazi. Ha 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 ha, sisters Hizzy, King Bao is so cute. Han Baoluo heard this as soon as he walked in and couldn't help bursting into laughter. Shenyazi glanced at her resentfully, revealing the traces of Qingbao's flour-covered hand on his face, which made Han Baoluo burst into laughter again and his stomach twitched. If you laugh again, you won't get breakfast, Shenyazi said coolly. Han Baoluo immediately stopped laughing and put on a most serious expression. Sisters Hizzy, I'm here to help too. Listen, how cheerful the tone is. Shenyazi said with bad intentions. How was the discussion with Mr. Mo? What conditions did you agree to him? When talking about this, Han Baoluo couldn't help but blush and stamped his foot. Sisters Hizzy. This time it was Shenyazi's turn to laugh. Talk and laugh, and breakfast is ready. The staple food is wontons and xiaolong bao, and the side dishes include braised peanuts, cold shredded vegetables, and a sweet, crispy, sour, and spicy pickled cucumber. The people at the table were sweating from their foreheads after eating, but they were extremely satisfied. Kui Mi chewed the peanuts and felt more and more that his decision was right. He has only been here for a few days, and he already feels that his waist no longer hurts, his legs are no longer sore, he eats deliciously, sleeps well, and his body seems to be more than 10 years younger. It's great. Moreover, my granddaughter is with me every day, and there are so many flowers to look at. It's hard not to feel happy. After breakfast, everyone should go and do whatever they have to do. Shenyazi and Han Baoluo led Qingbao to the hospital. Sisters Hizzy, I don't have to leave. Han Baoluo kicked away a stone in front of him briskly. Grandpa said he would stay with me, and he will retire in Jiazhuang from now on. Shenyazi was also happy for her. That's good, but isn't your grandpa the dean of Zhengrong Academy? It shouldn't be that easy to step down, right? Grandpa said he had already written back and was just waiting for the hospital's response. Here, Kuimi went out for a walk after breakfast. Walking is just one aspect, more important is to inspect the homestead. He plans to buy a piece of land in the village to build a house and live here permanently. The homestead doesn't need to be too big, since it's just him and Baelu who live there anyway, but it shouldn't be too small, so as not to offend Baelu. She has lived a hard life in the Han family for so many years, and now that she is living with her grandfather, he will naturally try his best to provide her with a good life. Although he was just a dean who taught and educated people in these years, he was not an unconventional person. He also accumulated quite a fortune in private, which was enough for them and his grandson to live a prosperous life in the future. In addition to size, it also had to be close to the Shen family. Baoluo had said that she wanted to be neighbors with her sisters Hizi. And he also thought so in his heart, it is convenient for neighbors to get food. I think he was once treated as a distinguished guest by the emperor and enjoyed a state banquet. Even the exquisite delicacies at the banquet could not move him in the slightest. However, the meals prepared by Miss Shen made him extremely comfortable, and he couldn't stop eating. As for meal money, given Miss Shen's character, if she were given money directly, she would probably refuse to accept it. Thinking of the smart and lovely Qingbao, his heart moved. How about taking this doll as your disciple? It is quite legitimate to come to your home to have a meal in the name of master. Well, I decided happily. Kuimi felt that he had solved another major life event invisibly, and he felt quite proud for a while. He stroked the beard on his chin and his eyes widened with a smile. Wandering around, he finally selected a location. A wasteland southeast of Shen's house. It is full of sand and gravel and the land is barren, so no villagers value it. Over the years, the place has become overgrown with weeds, and there are also a lot of bird droppings and wild feathers scattered in it. It is quite a distance from the Shen family, but after the house is built, this large area will be carefully planned and turned into a garden, and a back door will be opened in the yard. It will only take a few steps to reach the Shen family. Kuimi was planning in his mind, and the more he thought about it, the more beautiful it became. At that moment, he no longer hesitated and went to the village chief's house. The original village chief was unfortunately killed in the zombie incident. As his grandson, Li Qingyun temporarily acted as the village chief for a period of time. However, because of his young age, he could not convince the public. Later, after the election of the surviving villagers, the new leader was elected. The village chief was born. He was originally the patriarch of the Li family, and was called seventh uncle by the villagers. The seventh uncle's surname is Li Sufu. He is now 70 years old. He has been living outside the country for a long time. He returned to the village to marry a wife when he was in his 30s. It is said that he once served as a soldier. In short, his experience is legendary and rich. Extraordinary skills. Now that I am old, I still insist on boxing every day, so my body is still strong and energetic. I speak loudly and can eat 3 big bowls of rice in one meal. Originally, the villagers preferred him to be the village chief, but he firmly refused because of his old age. As soon as the zombie incident broke out, Jiazhuang was severely damaged. Faced with the support of the villagers, he agreed. Now that a few months have passed, the village has gradually recovered and everything is developing in a good direction. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 172. Kuimi came to Qi Shugong's house and explained his purpose. The seventh uncle already respected him very much. When he learned that the famous Dean Kui was going to settle in Jiazhuang, he was immediately overjoyed and happily granted him the land. As for the money to buy the land, just give it a little if you feel like it. Kuimi was not without money, so he would not leave anyone with a reason to talk about this. He immediately rejected the seventh uncle's kindness. He would pay as much as he wanted. He would never give the villagers a copper penny. The seventh uncle was even more respectful now. The two chatted happily. The seventh uncle even stayed with Kui-mi to eat and asked the old woman to prepare more delicious dishes. Now the seventh uncle lives alone in the old house with his wife. As for the sons, they are separated and let them go out and live alone. Just come over during the New Year and festivals to show your respects, and just take care of their small family in normal times. They are parents who are not too old to move. Knowing that Mr. Kui was staying at the seventh uncle's house for lunch at noon, Shen Yizi asked Han Bailuo to send 2 dishes over to add extra dishes to the 2 elderly people. When Han Bailuo opened the food box and took out the pork belly with pickled vegetables and braised pork chop, the eyes of the 2 old men lit up at the same time. Noticing the greediness of the other party, the 2 looked at each other and laughed. Han Bailuo took out another pot of wine and said, "Seventh uncle, this wine is brewed with snake gall. It has the effects of dispelling wind, activating collaterals, regulating qi and blood, and dispelling dampness and cold. Sisters Hizi said you can drink this wine every night, have a drink and drink for a while, and your old cold legs will feel better." Okay, I know what I mean. The seventh uncle was very moved. However, Kui-mi was a little bit dissatisfied. Han Bailuo couldn't help but laugh when he caught a glimpse of his expression. Sisters Hizi was right. Young and old, this person is like a child when he gets old and needs to be coaxed. Grandpa, the dried plums used in this braised pork with plums and vegetables have the effects of appetizing, replenishing blood and promoting fluids, replenishing deficiency and fatigue, and curing phlegm and cough. Sisters Hizi said that you have suffered from physical losses in your early years, so you need to take more supplements, so I made this dish especially for you. When Kui-mi heard this, his eyebrows and eyes widened in laughter. He tried his best to appear unfazed, but failed. Han Bailuo made the 2 old people happy and said, "Grandpa, seventh uncle, you eat slowly, I'm going back." The seventh uncle's wife, Mr. Nai, sent her out and stuffed her with a jar of homemade salted duck eggs. Han Bailuo didn't refuse. Grandma Nai's salted duck eggs were excellent, and they were perfect with porridge. When she reached the entrance of the hospital, she asked the old man to stop, and took out a box of ointment from her sleeve. "Grandma, this is Fenju ointment. Sisters Hizi heard that you often have headaches, so she asked me to bring this ointment to you. I usually put a little bit here and rub it in slowly, and the headache will go away." She pointed to her temple. Nai held the ointment box in her hands and kept saying to her, "Good boy, it's hard for her to still miss me, an old woman." Han Bailuo walked back briskly with a jar of salted duck eggs in his arms. Within 2 days, Kui-mi received a reply. The hospital had reservations about his resignation as dean and needed him to go back for an interview. Moreover, Kui-mi still had some things to deal with in Danghang, so he had to go back. Han Bailuo was worried and proposed to go back with him and see the place where his mother once lived. Kui-mi naturally would not refuse. Shen Yizi hosted a barbecue dinner to practice for them. The location is in a bamboo forest behind the yard. There are 2 barbecue grills placed in the open space. Shen Yizi drew the drawings and found someone to customize the grills. It is about 1.2 meters high and has a long iron box on 4 legs. It is used to store charcoal. It is covered with a layer of wire mesh. The red-hot charcoal is put in and the skewered food is placed on the wire mesh. Put it on, turn it over constantly, sprinkle with seasonings, and take it out after it is cooked. This way, there is a layer of wire mesh to prevent the food from being burned. Even a newbie can try it. The rectangular table next to the grill is filled with a variety of prepared ingredients, including various meats, vegetables, sausages, meatballs, etc. It seems that apart from rice, there seems to be nothing that cannot be roasted. It only depends on whether it tastes good or not. Grilled food has a special aroma that is very appetizing. In addition, the charcoal used by Shen Yizi is high-quality pine charcoal. There is no choking smoke when burning, and it also has a light fragrance. This fragrance gradually penetrates into the ingredients as the heat is heated, and it also tastes like a light pine aroma, which tastes great. Of course, just eating barbecue would be a bit monotonous. Shenyazi also arranged several simple games, such as pot throwing, cards, and, same pronunciation, and pu, same pronunciation as Portuguese, chess, to make the atmosphere more lively. A few people were eating and playing, and the air was filled with the tempting aroma of meat and the smell of joy. The next day, Shenyazi prepared a bunch of food and drink for Hanbeiluo, as well as many medicines, and asked her to take them with her. It is not the best to use, but if necessary, it can be used in emergencies. Hanbeiluo was so moved that he hugged her. But there is not much sadness, but on the contrary, they are very excited and looking forward to it, because this trip to Dan City will not last long. After Grandpa has taken care of the things in Dan City, they can come back. So in her opinion, this trip is nothing more than a short trip. Shenyazi gave Kuimi several pots of flowers, including a pot of epiphyllum that he coveted. Kuimi hugged the flowers as if he were holding his son, and smiled like a child. Shenyazi sent them all the way to the entrance of the village. Sisters Hizi, please go back, I will be back soon, Hanbeiluo waved to her while lying by the window, with a bright smile on his face. Just as he was about to lower the curtain, a head suddenly hung down from the window. If it wasn't Mo Fei Yang, who could it be? Hanbeiluo almost screamed out in fright, and when he reacted, he wanted to blow his head off. Why is this guy here? Mo Fei Yang showed a big smile, then quickly retracted and lay down on the top of the carriage again. He put his hands behind his head, crossed his legs, and held a sweet grass root in his mouth. He looked so happy. Hanbeiluo thought he would be able to get rid of this guy when he went to Dan City with his grandfather this time, but he unexpectedly followed him quietly. The ghost lingers. Seeing that her expression was not good, Kuimi couldn't help but worry, what's wrong with Beilu? Is she feeling uncomfortable? She was fine just now. It's okay Grandpa, I'm just a little sleepy, I got up too early in the morning. Hanbeiluo pretended to be sleepy and yawned. Kuimi did not doubt that he was there and said, then lie down and sleep for a while. Grandpa will call you when you get there. Hanbeiluo lay down and thought about how to drive Mo Fei Yang away. Kuimi touched her head, his eyes full of kindness. Then after she fell asleep, he secretly took out snacks from the secret compartment under the seat, and a sweet fragrance came out. Hanbeiluo, should she wake up at this time and stop her grandpa, or should she pretend not to know? Sisters Hizi said that people of his age should not eat too many sweets. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 173. Shenyazi returned to the courtyard and did not go to the medical clinic. Today is the day of the 10-day holiday. It was a rare day to rest, and she wanted to give her soul a short period of peace. Translation means, she wanted to just be a salty fish for a day, so she just slumped there and did nothing. Shenyazi did the same thing. She huddled in the spherical swing chair under the pomegranate tree and swayed gently. Qingbao was able to arrange himself clearly by himself. He was squatting not far away, playing with the sand. Excuse me, is this Miss Shenyazi's home? A voice sounded outside the door. Shenyazi reached out with his spiritual consciousness first and saw the person clearly. He couldn't help but be surprised. Why did the lord of the city come to him? Thank you, sir, please come in. Shenyazi welcomed the person in. I'm taking the liberty of visiting, but I hope Miss Shen won't be surprised. Xia Yun hugged her fists. It's okay, sir, Please take a seat. Shen Yizi led the person into the living room and served tea and snacks. After sitting down, Xia Yun looked around and was slightly surprised. This place was much more elegant than he imagined. Although the scenery in the courtyard is not very regular, it is full of lively and enthusiastic interest, which makes people feel happy when they see it. And as soon as I entered the courtyard, the dryness in my body dissipated without a trace. Taking another sip of tea, the whole person couldn't help but relax. Although this courtyard is far less magnificent than his city lord's palace, it is more comfortable and pleasant. After only sitting there for a while, he couldn't help but feel a little envious. Miss Shen, this is a little thought of mine, I hope you won't refuse. Xia Yun motioned to the boy behind him to present several gifts he had brought. Shen Yizi accepted it generously. After a few words of greeting, Xia Yun explained his purpose. I wonder how Miss Shen is doing with that jade-glazed plant. Shen Yizi thought to himself, although jade glass is relatively rare, it is not worth the city lord's personal visit, right? He seems to be overly enthusiastic about Yuli. In this case, she cannot give it away easily. Although the jade glass in the space has multiplied into a small piece. Sir, it only took a few days, how can it be so fast? Don't worry, as long as one branch of Yuli is successful, I will send it to your house immediately. Xia Yun was a little disappointed, pondered for a while, and then changed his strategy. To be honest with Miss Shen, my mother has always liked to plant flowers and grass. It will be my mother's 60th birthday soon. I originally thought of taking advantage of my mother's birthday to put the jade glass into the house, present it to her to make her smile. Shen Yizi did not comment on this, but he had already mentioned it. If she persisted in not selling it, she would probably have an enemy with her. Your filial piety is commendable. In this case, I will fulfill your filial piety. Please wait a moment, sir. I will go and move out the jade glass. Xia Yun looked happy and said, okay, Miss Shen, let's go. Not long after, Shen Yizi brought out a pot of flowers. In the porcelain pot with a white background and red lines, a tall and graceful flower stood tall and graceful, catching people's eyes. It is jade glass. Xia Yun could hardly move his eyes away from his gaze. It seems that Miss Shen is not only extraordinary in medical skills, she is also quite proficient in growing flowers. This jade glass has only been raised by you for a few days, and it has become more energetic. Shen Yizi smiled lightly, thank you, sir. Xia Yun came closer to take a closer look at the jade glass in the basin. The purple cloud butterfly in the bamboo tube in his sleeve began to stir, so he simply released it. As soon as it came out, the purple cloud butterfly couldn't wait to fly to the jade glass and stayed on the petals for a long time. The purple cloud butterfly is the most picky. It cannot live without the best flowers, so the only thing that can make it stop is the treasure. Just like a man who has been looking at flowers, only the most beautiful things in the world can make him attracted. At first Xia Yun was worried that Shen Yizi was cheating on the jade glass, but now he saw Xiandi and was completely relieved. But the next moment, something surprising happened to him. The purple cloud butterfly actually abandoned the jade glass and flew outside, landing on a pink rose flower. The shape of the rose flower is 2 circles larger than that of ordinary rose flowers. The petals are pink and tender, delicate and bright, and the pink and jade carvings are pleasing to the eye. As soon as we got closer, there was a refreshing fragrance, which was refreshing and refreshing. The purple cloud butterfly rests on the rose flower with nostalgia, its wings fluttering lightly, like a man intoxicated with the warm fragrance of nephrite. Xia Yun was shocked and doubtful. Could it be that this rose was also a treasure? But he could clearly see that this was just an ordinary rose. What is it that attracts the purple cloud butterfly to stop? Not only the roses, but also the purple cloud butterflies visited almost all the flowers and plants in the courtyard. Later, Xia Yun was so shocked that he became numb. There must be something wrong with the purple cloud butterfly, so it just picks the flowers as soon as they see them. He has to ask the imperial concubine properly when he gets back. But before leaving, he still asked Shenyazi to buy the rose. Shenyazi sent the man away and was very satisfied with the newly received 1,000 taels. 990 taels of which were spent on jade and glass, and the remaining 10 taels were spent on rose flowers. It's almost like half selling and half giving away. Just think that he bought Uliuli as a gift for him. The next time he comes, it won't be at this price. To be honest, Shenyazi doesn't have any skills in growing flowers. He just plants some random flowers in the space and occasionally sprinkles some spiritual spring water. The reason why the flowers and plants in the yard outside grow so well is because they are nourished by the spiritual spring water. This shows how powerful the spiritual spring is. Originally, she had thought about starting a flower and plant business. Since there was a spiritual spring, it would not take much effort to grow flowers, but she never came across the right time. Now it seems that this opportunity has been presented to the door. She found that the city lord seemed to be particularly concerned about the flowers and plants favored by the purple cloud butterfly. Although she didn't know what was said in it, it did not prevent her from making profit from it. I think it won't be long before he comes to visit again. As expected, Xiaoyun came 5 days later. Shenyazi noticed that his purple cloud butterfly seemed to have undergone some kind of evolution, and its wings became more gorgeous, sparkling and dazzling when it was fanned. As soon as we entered the yard, the purple cloud butterfly danced among the flowers. Sometimes it stopped on the jasmine, and sometimes it came into close contact with the impatiens. It was like a prodigal son who accidentally stumbled into a bunch of beauties, embracing him on both sides. It's a very unhappy life. When Xiaoyun saw this scene, he also laughed heartily. Thinking about how much effort he had put into finding a pot of rare flowers to present to the imperial concubine, this time he found so many by chance. The flowers in this yard are all treasures. Although I don't know how Shenyazi did it, it doesn't stop him from being happy. The imperial concubine said that a person who can cultivate ordinary flowers into treasures is absolutely extraordinary. If he can win her over, it would be best. If he can't, he should make friends with her, and he must not hate her. Thinking of the imperial concubine's solemn advice, Xiaoyun looked at Shenyazi again, his eyes became much more solemn, and he was even more grateful in his heart. Fortunately, he had not offended Miss Shen before. Then the friendly conversation started. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 174. The intention of Xiaoyun's words to win over was very obvious, but Shenyazi didn't accept the move and only dealt with it politely. In this way, Xiaoyun understood what she meant. But he was not annoyed by this. After all, masters have their own personalities and are not easy to get along with. He never thought he could succeed in the first attempt. If you want to get an expert on board, you have to be patient and sincere. Since the win-over failed, Xiaoyun proposed cooperation. Shenyazi's interest was immediately aroused, and the smile on his face became much more sincere. As the concubine's flower-hunting messenger, Xiaoyun was just a small city lord on the surface, but he was actually not short of money. In addition, he was determined to show his favor to Shenyazi, so the price he offered was very much in line with Shenyazi's wishes. The price varies according to the variety and degree of treasure, but a pot can be sold for as little as 100 taels of silver, and as much as thousands or even thousands. Shenyazi discovered that he judged the rarity of flowers based on the performance of the purple cloud butterfly. The longer the purple cloud butterfly stayed on a flower, the higher the price he offered. The attraction of a flower to purple cloud butterflies is closely related to the richness of the spiritual energy contained in them. Simply speaking, the richer the aura of a flower, the greater its attraction to purple cloud butterflies, and in Xiaoyun's opinion, the more precious it is. After thinking about this, Shen Yizi finally understood why Xia Yun was so enthusiastic about these flowers. There is no doubt that he is immortal, but he can control spiritual creatures such as Xiun butterfly, although the level is very low, which shows that there must be a monk standing behind him. The flowers he bought were most likely dedicated to the monk. What kind of monk would need a large number of flowers containing spiritual energy? Shen Yizi asked Yi Chang. Of course it's people who need spiritual plants to practice, Yi Chang said lazily. In the vast world, all kinds of cultivation methods emerge endlessly, and there are all kinds of strange things, not to mention practicing with spiritual plants. Even practicing with fetuses is not surprising. There are still people who use fetuses to practice. Shen Yizi felt a sense of disgust. This kind of people are evil cultivators, and the paths they follow are extremely bloody. In the world of immortality, everyone calls for beating them up. However, such extreme methods often make rapid progress in the early stages, so there are always some people who take the evil path. Although they often end up miserable in the end. Yu Chang obviously doesn't have a good impression of evil cultivators. Compared with this kind of evil cultivator, those who practice with spiritual plants can be said to be very upright, Yi Chang added. In this case, there is no harm in selling these spiritual plants to him. The noble concubine in the palace didn't know it yet, but her true identity had been revealed by a village girl thousands of miles away. After the cooperation was agreed upon, Xia Yun immediately bought the 2 potted flowers that Xiandi liked most and asked them to carefully carry them to the carriage. It happened to be time for lunch, and Shen Yizi took the opportunity to let him eat. Xia Yun glanced at the blazing sun in the sky and nodded in agreement. It's the hottest time of the day now, and it's really hard to walk on the road. Moreover, the courtyard is so cool and comfortable that people don't want to leave. Xia Yun teased Qingbao, who was playing in the sand, asking questions such as how old are you, and do you know how to read? Seeing that Qingbao is articulate and clear, I like him even more. Seeing that Jianwu and Kansan were not talking or acting like ordinary servants, they thought more highly of Shen Yizi. Sir, let me toast you at the dinner table. Shen Yizi raised his glass to Xia Yun. Haha, I know, I am a little older than you. If you don't see me outside, just call me uncle. Xia Yunhan smiled. Shen Yizi followed Shan Ruliu, uncle. Xia Yun laughed loudly, looked very happy, and drank the wine in one gulp. With this drink, a strange light flashed in his eyes. The imperial concubine once rewarded him with a pot of Luofu Kun, which was brewed by Luofu Taoists from the clear springs in Luofu Mountain over many years. Its aroma is unique in the world. He once took it for granted that he kept the bottle of wine and only poured a small glass to take a sip when he got addicted to alcohol. However, after drinking this glass of wine, he knew what real good wine was like. It doesn't have an overly mellow and intoxicating aroma, but when you drink it and fall into your belly, you feel like you're in the clouds. When you look up, it feels like nothing in the world is worth mentioning. Nice Yiji, what kind of wine is this? The immortal is drunk. The immortal is drunk, the immortal is drunk, good wine, good wine. Then, Xia Yun knocked his head on the table and became drunk. Shen Yizi was shocked. Xia Yun's drinking capacity must be too small. He got drunk after just one drink. Gan Wu, move him to the guest room. The table of delicious dishes she cooked was really in vain. It seemed that Xia Yun was not lucky. But there are still a few of them big eaters here, so they are not afraid of waste. Shen Yizi asked Kansan and Gan Wu, who had sent people back, to sit down, and they had a good meal. Xia Yun slept until mid-afternoon. When she woke up, the bright sunlight filtered through the screen window and cast bright spots on the flat ground. There was a gust of wind outside, and the branches were rustling, which made people feel very comfortable. The refreshing fragrance of flowers floats in the air. This summer afternoon in the farmyard was so peaceful that Xia Yun felt like he was back in his childhood. However, the trance only lasted for a moment. He soon woke up and realized that he was actually drunk in someone else's house, and he was filled with confusion. Thinking of the culprit who made him drunk, he subconsciously smacked it, and the intoxicating feeling seemed to still linger on the tip of his tongue. He remembered that before he fell drunk, he seemed to have asked Shenyazi what the wine was called. Xian Renzui, yes, that's the name. Even an immortal will get drunk after drinking, let alone a mortal like him. But the wine was really good. He only tasted it once and he couldn't forget it. I wonder if my niece has more? Even if he spends thousands of gold, he is willing to buy a pot back. Unexpectedly, Shenyazi took the initiative to serve the wine before he asked. In her return gift, there was a jar of immortal drunkenness. A whole jar. Xia Yun was filled with happiness at this moment, and his eyes looking at Shenyazi were extremely eager. Shenyazi was a little confused by what he saw. Could this uncle have any inappropriate thoughts about her? I know my niece, I'm not afraid of your jokes. In my whole life, I have neither fame nor fortune, but only greed for the things in the cup. You, the immortal drunk, have really touched my heart. Although my uncle is nothing, he is very capable, but he is still the lord of a city. If you have anything to do in the future, just come to me and I will not refuse if I can handle it. Shenyazi responded with a smile, okay, then I will have to stop bothering uncle in the future. Ha 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 ha, no problem. Xia Yun left with 2 pots of flowers and a jar of wine. Before leaving, he left a large amount of money in bank notes, which was money for money and wine. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 175. After cooperating with Xia Yun, Shenyazi gained another income. But she earned more and spent more. Silver was just a dead thing with no real value. After she got it, she used it all to invest in Tianbao Pavilion to buy heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Just the treasures of heaven, materials, and earth are not that easy to come by. Even with Tianbao Pavilion's ability to collect treasures, they cannot always supply them. Especially when meeting Shenyazi, a master with endless needs. She felt that she had to find other channels, otherwise when would she be able to collect 100,000 points to buy the current space? It is difficult to gain points by treating diseases and saving lives. Because 99% of those patients are ordinary people with white luck, the points obtained by rescuing them are very few. After a whole day, it is estimated that they will not be able to collect the 10 points required for renting the space for a day. It's just that we can't rush this matter, we have to plan it slowly. Shenyazi had made an agreement with Xia Yun before to send him flowers once every 10 days. Now that day happened to be the day. She gave him 2 pots of flowers that she had carefully cultivated these days and asked him to send them to the city lord's palace. In addition, the medicine she made was also sent to the Huishan Hall. Over the past few months, she has established a good cooperative relationship with Huishan Hall. The medicine she made is very effective and very popular, and the business of Huishan Hall has also improved a lot. Often, the medicine has already been ordered by various companies before it arrives. As her medicine spread, her reputation as a producer also spread, attracting more people to come to the medical clinic for medical treatment. Everyone who came to her to see a doctor would basically receive various praises. Further, boosted her fame. A virtuous cycle is formed. But this also attracted a lot of annoying flies, either threatening or tempting her, trying to get her to terminate the cooperation with Huishan Hall and switch to them. It's strange that Shenyazi would agree to them. He dismissed those people neatly. Perhaps the method used at that time was too good, so no one dared to come to her again, which made her really regretful. She wants to clean up the mess a few more times, why not give her a chance? Huishantang was grateful for her perseverance. Shenyazi, actually not, I was just too lazy to change partners, and in subsequent transactions, it raised the price of the medicine by 10% or 20%. Of course, even so, Huishuntang still makes money. Shen Yizi has made a lot of money just by selling medicines. If she were just an ordinary person, with that money, she would be able to eat and drink for several lifetimes. It is more than enough to raise another 7 or 8 treasures. But she is not, she has a vampire space to raise. Then again, if she was really an ordinary person, how could she make those medicines? Where can I live the good life I have now? Thinking of this, Shen Yizi couldn't help but laugh. Just as he was about to turn back, he suddenly remembered, by the way, Ganwu, remember to go to the blacksmith shop and see how the iron all I asked you to give to Uncle Wang last time is doing. Ganwu responded and drove the donkey cart to the city. In addition to these 3 main tasks, he also has routine procurement tasks. Flower seedlings, seeds, cloth, fresh stuff, etc. With an errand runner, Shen Yizi doesn't like to go out anymore, but he can't buy less things. Now that he has money, his material conditions must be met. When he came back, Ganwu not only brought back a lot of banknotes, a cart full of things, but also a big living person. His hair is as messy as a chicken coop, his beard is unshaven and he hasn't shaved in an unknown number of days. He is wearing a wrinkled black robe with stains on the left and right sides. If it's not the appraisal master affiliated with Tianbao Pavilion and the drug-crazy Wang Hexian, who is it? Originally, he was immersed in his own world, muttering something in his mouth, and his eyes were chaotic. After seeing Shen Yizi, his eyes suddenly brightened and his clarity returned. Little friend Shen, why haven't you visited me for a while? I have a lot of questions to ask you. I'm currently developing an ambergris purple elixir, but the pills I make are always full of a strange smell. Son, come and show me what went wrong. Wang Hexian was puzzled, so he pulled Shen Yizi on the spot and asked him. Shen Yizi invited him into his alchemy room and asked him to refine at once in front of him. The refining room was equipped with all kinds of medicinal materials and equipment, and there was no shortage of anything. Wang Hexian immediately took the medicinal materials and started refining them. Shen Yizi watched quietly from the side and didn't notice anything wrong. The concoction gradually became viscous under Wang Hexian's stirring. He only needed to blend it into pills. This ambergris purple golden pill was ready. It's done. Just at this moment, the concoction gave off an extremely unpleasant smell, which made people sick to smell it, let alone take it. Medicine doesn't have to be fragrant, but at least it shouldn't smell like excrement, otherwise how can others eat it? Wang Hexian scratched his hair, feeling a little crazy. Shen Yizi suddenly thought of something, grabbed a handful of ashes from the incense burner on the table and sprinkled it into the medicine paste. Stir a few more times. Wang Hexian subconsciously did as she said, and then discovered. The strange smell seems to be gone? On the contrary, there is a natural medicinal fragrance. He immediately poured the medicine paste into the spherical molds. After the medicine paste was completely dry, he took it out and the pills were ready. He picked up a pill. Its color was light purple, as clear as jade, and it smelled fragrant. It was a good product at first glance. It's done, ha 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 ha, it's done. He was so happy that he was dancing for joy. Shen Yizi couldn't help but smile. After getting excited, Wang Hexian asked, why did you add a handful of incense burner ashes in the end and the medicine was ready? Shen Yi knew, actually, I'm not sure, I just had an idea to give it a try. However, the incense burner ashes itself is a kind of medicine. It is neutral in nature, non-toxic, and has strong medicinal properties. Although it has no special effects, it happens to be able to let the wind grass and 5 bird flowers coexist harmoniously in you. Wang He thought about it for a moment, his eyes getting brighter and brighter. Wonderful, wonderful. I'll try it again and see if it works with other ashes. After saying that, he got addicted to refining medicine again. Shen Yizi smiled and quietly retreated. When I came to the front hall, I saw a pile of things on the table, all of which Ganu bought this time. Qingbao had already picked up a new toy and started playing with it. It was a brightly painted top. He waved a small whip and hit the top, but it failed to make it spin happily. "Young master, look at me." Ganwu took the whip in his hand and showed him. Under his whipping, the top began to spin rapidly, dancing beautifully. Qingbao looked at him with envy. Ganu was so dazzled by his starry eyes that his lips almost reached the sky. It made Kun San look askance. Seeing Shen Yizi come out, Ganwu immediately stepped forward and handed her two boxes. One contains the bank notes, and the other is the cone-shaped magic weapon. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 176. The magical instrument has been repaired, with a layer of dark gilt on the surface. It is as smooth as new and feels quite heavy in the hand. The head of the cone is engraved with several complicated patterns, which look like words but not words, and look like flowers but not flowers. Shen Yizi directly asked Yi Chang, the living library, "What is this?" Yi Chang was sitting on Qingbao's wrist, watching him play the top with relish. Hearing the words, his spiritual consciousness swept over. Huh? This is a font from ancient times. It says, "Soul-eating cone." Yes, that's right, that's it. 3 words. Ancient times. Is it possible that this soul-eating cone is a legacy from ancient times? That's not necessarily true. There are many families in the upper world that claim to have a long heritage and a long history. They like to use fonts from ancient times to show off their status, so as to show how noble their status is. Maybe someone made this soul-eating cone. But later he fell into this world again. Shen Yizi understood, since it came down from the upper world, the grade of this magical weapon must be high, right? Yu Chang sensed it and found that the soul-eating cone was actually useless. What does mean? I just can't sense its grade. It seems high and low, vague. This is the first time Yi Chang has encountered this kind of situation. After all, the grade of a magic weapon is fixed. Even if the grade is too high, he can still have an idea. But this soul-eating cone is different, and the grade is not certain. Shen Yizi became more and more interested in this soul-eating cone. At this time, Kun San came to ask her for instructions. "Girl, what should I do with these flower seeds and seedlings?" "Leave half of it out and plant the other half in a flower pot." Back at the small building, Shen Yizi recognized the owner of the soul-eating cone. The process went smoothly without any hindrance. After recognizing her master, she had an extra connection with the soul-eating cone, and she also understood the function and usage of the soul-eating cone. Soul-eating all, as the name suggests, this all is specially used to attack the soul. While attacking, it can also swallow the opponent's soul. This is a bit powerful. There are so many weapons that attack the flesh, but there are very few that target the soul. And as more souls are swallowed, the level of the soul-eating cone will be higher. In short, this is another growable magic weapon. Its power is directly proportional to the number of souls it swallows. Although devouring souls sounds a little evil, it is perfect if used to deal with those who have done the most evil, those ghosts with deep grievances. It seems that she also picked up a treasure. Shen Yizi rubbed the body of the cone, feeling the coldness coming from it, and a feeling of expectation rose in his heart. Put away the soul-eating cone, Shen Yizi planted the other half of the flower seedlings into the space. Looking at the flourishing flower field, Shen Yizi felt that it was a silver field with living silver planted on it. Speaking of which, those flowers and plants are considered spiritual plants. Can they be sold to the trial manual and exchanged for points? Of course not. The trial manual popped up. I donated these flowers and plants, and now you want to use the things I donated to exchange points with me. How is that possible? Did you support it? Shen Yizi keenly discovered the loophole in its words. So, do you admit that you are the weapon spirit of this space? Not the Lashiza trial manual. The God Emperor's Pearl artifact spirit. What should I do if my vest accidentally explodes? Waiting online, quite urgent. Originally, it planned to wear the vest of the trial manual and contact Shen Yizi for a period of time, and then openly collect heavenly materials, earthly treasures and merit points from her to restore its vitality. Anyway, she would never let her know that she was the weapon spirit of the God Emperor Pearl until the critical moment. This makes it easier for it to create a mysterious and cold persona for the God Emperor Pearl spirit. At that time, the main body and the vest will play the bad guy and the other will play the red face, playing with this master and letting her work for him. Ha ha ha, it feels so good just thinking about it. Who would have thought that it would be exposed accidentally? Kinkaiu, that is, the spirit of the God's Emperor's pearl vessel is about to cry but has no tears. Looking at Shen Yizi's calm and dangerous expression, Kinkaiu slipped away timidly. Shen Yizi almost laughed angrily. This weapon spirit was very courageous. He actually dared to play tricks with her master. Now it seems that many of the things it said before have to be discounted. Come out, she said calmly, don't make me say it a second time. A tender pink lamb appeared out of thin air and softly bade at her, showing full guilt and flattery. Shen Yizi. I never expected that the weapon spirit of the God Emperor Pearl would look like this. She has no resistance to cute things, okay. As soon as the pink and tender lamb appeared, most of her anger disappeared. If the last bit of reason hadn't reminded her of how evil-hearted the little cute creature in front of her was, she would have pounced on it, held it in her arms and ravaged it. Name, she tried to keep a cold face. The little lamb obediently sat down on his knees in mid-air. Kinkaiu. I'm here in Wanzai. Who gave you this name? Seeing that Shen Yizi's expression softened a bit, Kinkaiu nuzzled closer to her, moved his limp body closer to her, and took the initiative to touch her. Shen Yizi moved his fingers, unable to resist the temptation, and touched it. Very smooth, soft, and touchable. I don't remember. My previous master gave me the name a long time ago. Kinkaiu continued to act well behaved, her voice soft and tender. Feeling the gentle caressing of the hand on its head, it felt proud in its heart. Sure enough, no one can resist my cute attack. Having experienced so many owners, it has completely summed up the experience. When you meet the hostess, cuteness is enough. As for the male master, he should show his strength and not be afraid of not being able to win over the hearts of these masters. When they were still dreaming about killing the world with the help of the God Emperor Pearl, they had actually fallen into its trap. You can't even pass the trial period, but you still want to truly be its master? Dream. Suddenly, the hand on the head stopped, and his voice was leisurely. What does the previous trial manual mean? Kinkaiu's voice was a little wavy. It's just a trial. How can a high-level artifact like me easily recognize its owner? Naturally, it's going to be a test. If you pass my test, I accept you as Lord with all my heart. Oh, that's right. What if I fail the test? This was a torture from the soul. Kinkaiu once again had the urge to escape, but the hand grabbed it tightly and made it impossible to break free. How is this going? It is the actual controller of this space. After all, Shen Yizi is just a tester. He has not even passed the first level of space, so how can he control it? Is the world changing too fast, or is there a cognitive impairment? Finding that he couldn't escape, Kinkaiu felt weak and simply gave up struggling. He broke the jar and said, "It's nothing, I'll just be swallowed up by the soil." Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 177. 11 Soil. It is still sleeping, and its body is hidden in that large area of soil. The soil can swallow all things and benefit living beings. The medicinal materials and flowers you plant cannot grow so well just relying on the spiritual spring. Then have I passed the test now? No, there are 7 tests for the God Emperor Pearl. Each time you pass one, you can gain more authority. Now, you are just a tester, not the real owner of the God Emperor Pearl. Kinkayu felt a little gloating in his heart. Except for the first master, the man who created it, after so many years, no one has been able to pass all the tests and become its true master. In the end, they were all swallowed up by the soil, turned into its fertilizer. I think this Shenyazi will be no exception. Shenyazi tapped it with his fingers. What is the first test? Kinkayu made a bang and turned into the previous trial manual again, turning to the first page. Lord of the trial, Shenyazi. Appearance, finally somewhat human-like. Cultivation level, 4th level of Qi refining, still weak. Skills, medical skills, intermediate plus, pharmaceutical skills, intermediate plus. Points, 11,950. Trial mission, 1st level by the 1st level space within 1 year. A trial task has been added to her attribute page. The trial mission existed from the beginning, right? If I never discovered your little trick, would I have lost my qualification for the trial because of confusion? Shenyazi's tone was cold. Trial manual. Chiu shivered. Not only will you lose the qualification for the trial, but if you fail the mission, the body and soul of the trialist will be destroyed. The existence of the God Emperor Pearl cannot be leaked. Shenyazi held the trial manual and really wanted to tear it into pieces. However, she didn't know what it was made of, and her hands hurt and she couldn't shake it at all. She took out the soul-eating cone and stabbed it hard, but it didn't even leave a mark. Asshole! She threw the trial manual away. Mom, what's wrong with you? Who made you angry? Yuan Bao beat him for you. Yuan Bao ran over and grabbed the hem of her skirt. Shenyazi knelt down and hugged his warm little body. That guy is still very powerful. Yuan Bao can't beat it now, so we have to accumulate strength. When we can beat him one day, we can pin him down rubbing on the ground. Well, Yuan Bao must practice hard and vent his anger on his mother's behalf in the future. Press the bad guy to the ground and rub him. Yuan Bao waved his little fist. Okay, mother, wait. Shenyazi touched his forehead intimately. But he didn't really take Yuan Bao's words to heart. After all, his identity was already determined. How could a puppet practice like a human being? This is a fact that cannot be ignored. After coaxing Yuan Bao away, Shenyazi watched him sit cross-legged seriously, as if he was really practicing, and then looked away after a while. Walked to the house, called Kinkayu back, and looked at the task above. By the first space within 1 year. This simple sentence reveals several important information. When does the time start? Shenyazi asked. I thought to myself, never do it on the first day of entering the space. However, Kinkayu replied in the next moment, that's right. After hearing the bad news, Shenyazi was too lazy to argue with it that it was peeping into his thoughts again. Nearly half a year has passed since entering the space. If Kinkayu had clearly told her the trial mission at the beginning, she would have been able to prepare earlier instead of wasting this half a year. Thinking of this, she wanted to beat someone again. No, beat a sheep. Blame me for not telling you earlier? Have you ever thought that this is also part of the trial? Who told you not to discover it earlier? Hee, there is still half a year left. I wish you good luck, otherwise you will have to fight with me in half a year. Just like the previous testers, their bodies and souls were all annihilated and ceased to exist. Kinkayu's tone was full of gloating. It's not as tender as it was at the beginning. But it doesn't care at all. She had already taken off the vest of the trial manual, so there was no need for it to put on a show in front of her. Over the past 6 months, it has understood clearly that the world she lives in is a completely inferior interface with thin spiritual energy. The days of heaven and earth are poor, and there are few atmospheric transporters. Relying on those ordinary people to accumulate merit value, what year will be accumulated? So it is almost certain that she is going to be cold. Only the last half year left to live. Become its master? That was something that had no trace at all, so it had no fear that she would retaliate against it in the future. Shen Yizi could guess some of its thoughts, but how could she give up so easily? Until the last minute, who knows what the outcome will be? She is more concerned about the first dimension. Does the God Emperor Pearl have multiple dimensions? You said before that there are 7 tests. Does one test correspond to one dimension? Kinkaiu, knowing too much now is not good for you. You should think more about how to earn a lot of points in the next 6 months. As a friendly reminder, there is more to the first dimension than what you see. It's a big place for your palm. Now this space, which is almost as big as 2 football fields, is just a palm-sized space in its eyes. So how big is the first level of space? She didn't even have enough 100,000 points to buy this palm-sized place, let alone buy the entire first level space. How many points are needed? 1 million? 2 million? Or 10 million? Or more? At this time, Shen Yizi was really worried. He was so worried that he was almost bald. Feeling like a mountain is pressing on my head. She felt that she was in urgent need of comfort and needed to breathe in that beautiful face in order to feel better. So she lay down among the flowers, took a beautiful video, and asked, Goosewitting, what are you doing now? Do you miss me? Goosewitting was coming out of the palace when he received the video. This visit to the palace was about the emperor's eldest grandson. Last night, the eldest grandson of the emperor had a dream and talked in his sleep. In his dream talk, he mentioned, "You bad woman, I want to make the emperor's grandfather." Every move of the emperor's eldest grandson is watched by countless people. Even when he sleeps, there are people waiting at his bedside to provide services anytime and anywhere. As soon as the emperor's eldest grandson said this dream, it reached the ears of the Queen Mother the next day. Thinking about it during the day and dreaming about it at night. After hearing this, the Queen Mother couldn't help but wonder, had her great-grandson been bullied by some bad woman? This is great. However, with her watching in the palace, who would dare to bully her little good grandson? It would only happen outside the palace when she couldn't look after him. The Queen Mother became more and more uneasy as she thought about it, so she kept the emperor's eldest grandson when he came to greet him, and retreated to the left and right, leaving only the nanny who was closest to him and whom she trusted. Then he followed the temptation and asked him what he had dreamed about last night and what he dreamed about. The emperor's eldest grandson didn't know whether it was because he was really naive or was speaking out of control, but he told the whole story about the dream. But when he got to the key point, he showed hesitation and fear, and only said, "Uncle Chen didn't let me say it." This shows that there is something inside. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 178. There was a bad woman who bullied the emperor's eldest grandson. Why did King Chen let her hide it and not retaliate? Could it be that he had some ulterior relationship with that woman? The Empress Dowager hated the son who was once the most favored by the late emperor, and was a little frightened. Although he was now living in a simple life and was indifferent, he was previously crazy. Outsiders didn't know that King Chen was poisoned by a devil, so they just thought he was suffering from some kind of incurable disease, and it was frighteningly severe. It is true that if gods stand in the way of gods and Buddhas, they will kill Buddhas and their relatives will not recognize them. He was only 8 or 9 years old at that time, right? You can kill people without blinking an eye. The Queen Mother still remembers the first time she saw King Chen falling ill. His eyes were blood red, and his face and hands were covered in blood. He took one step and left a footprint on the spot. He walked past her, his emotionless eyes swept across her body. At that moment, her hair stood on end, as if she had fallen into an ice cellar. She didn't dare to breathe until he was far away. That look made her heart palpitate when she recalled it now. As he grew older, King Chen gradually learned to control his emotions, and the frequency of his illnesses became less frequent. After she left the palace and built a mansion, she could no longer threaten her, and she gradually let go of her worries. After the establishment of the palace, King Chen lived in seclusion and rarely appeared in public. There were gradually fewer rumors about him outside. He would only appear in the palace during New Year's and holidays. The Queen Mother was happy to show her kindness in front of everyone, so she was very good to King Chen on the face. Only she knew in her heart how afraid she was of this concubine. However, now for the sake of her beloved great-grandson, she had to call King Chen to the palace and inquire about it carefully. Gu Swiding already knew what happened in the palace. When he entered the Queen Mother's Yukon palace, he glanced at Gu Hongsoon, who was nestling next to the Queen Mother. Gu Hongsoon felt very guilty. How could he dare to look at him now? I didn't even dare to raise my head. Before Gu Swiding could salute, the Queen Mother offered her a seat without any courtesy, and after a gentle greeting, she got down to business. Prince Chen, it's not a big deal to call you here this time. It was because Honger had a nightmare last night, and when the AI family asked about it, they found out that it was Honger who was being bullied outside, and that she was a woman. Honger is His Royal Highness, the eldest grandson of the Emperor, with such a noble status, has been bullied by a woman. If this word spreads, the royal family will lose face. The Queen Mother spoke sternly. Seeing that King Chen still looked cold, without even moving his eyebrows, she felt angry and helpless. She considered it for a moment. You brought Honger back all the way. The Igia thought that maybe someone was disrespectful to Honger somewhere where you couldn't see. The Igia must find this person. I don't know. Does King Chen have any clues? Gu Swiding played with a string of Nanmu Buddhist beads on his wrist, which was given to him by Master Chang Feng when he was leaving. He said that when the mind is not calm, twisting the beads might be useful. His fingers were long and slender, like jade and bamboo, and he slowly twisted the beads. Coupled with his expression that looked like ice and snow for thousands of years, he seemed like a beyond the world of mortals in the nine heavens. Even if he doesn't say a word, he can't help but awe people from the heart. When he heard the Queen Mother's words, "This person must be found," he paused in twisting the prayer beads, and a cold and sharp light flashed in his eyes, like a thunderbolt suddenly falling in the dark night. The Queen Mother must not have known that the woman was a monk. She was the one who helped the Emperor's eldest grandson break the effect of the transformation pill and transform him from a monkey back into a human body. The Empress Dowager knew about the transformation pill. It was refined by the Imperial Master and prepared to be presented to the Emperor. However, it was eaten by her great-grandson and turned into a monkey and ran out of the palace. Since that woman was able to remove the transformation pill, she must be strong in cultivation. Thinking of this, the Queen Mother's face changed slightly. Those monks are not at the same level as ordinary people, and even the Emperor has to be wary of their unpredictable methods. The person who bullied Honger was a monk, so it was a bit difficult to handle. If you insist on seeking justice for Honger, you will inevitably have to antagonize the monk. What will happen when the monk comes to seek revenge? Although the royal family also serves many monks, they can't protect her all the time, right? Gu Swiding added, that woman did not bully the Emperor's eldest grandson, she just didn't know his identity and was not very respectful to him. After hearing this, the Queen Mother's original thoughts faded a bit. It seems that she is making a fuss out of a molehill. Not to mention the monks outside the palace, even those who are worshipped by the royal family, are not very respectful to her as the Queen Mother. Those people all regarded themselves as immortals, as if they had escaped the category of mortals, but she had to be wary when she thought of the methods they used. After asking the question, the Queen Mother kindly invited Goose Whitting to have a meal, but Goose Whitting refused. The Queen Mother did not show any anger on her face, and she smiled and asked people to send him out. As soon as the person left, the expression on her face dropped, and she looked a little scary. Gu Hong soon felt frightened and slowly moved out. The Queen Mother suddenly said, "Hong-er, where do you want to go?" I suddenly remembered that the homework assigned by the master has not been completed yet, so I will not disturb my great-grandmother's meal. I wanted to slip out before I finished speaking. "Stop," the Queen Mother shouted. Gu Hong soon didn't dare to move, turned around stiffly, and said with a sad face, "Great-grandmother, my grandson is wrong." The Queen Mother was unmoved. "What's wrong?" It took me a long time and I still couldn't figure out why." The Queen Mother sighed, "You were wrong because you didn't understand your opponent's situation and rashly exposed your thoughts." Huh, Gu Hong soon was a little confused. Even though he grew up in this treacherous palace, his scheming and intelligence are many times stronger than those of ordinary children, but after all, he is still young and is ignorant of many things. The Queen Mother analyzed him carefully. It would be fine if that woman was just an ordinary person, but unfortunately she is not. She is a monk with good cultivation, and she is kind to you. Without knowing your identity, she is. The fact that you are not respectful in your words does not serve as evidence that she bullied you. On the contrary, you have to be grateful to her." Seeing that Gu Hong soon looked dissatisfied, she lightly poked his forehead. "You don't accept it, right? You have to hold it in if you don't accept it. Even if you take the complaint to your imperial grandfather, you won't accept it. Maybe your imperial grandfather will even reward others. So no matter what you think in your heart, you will not accept it on your face. You have to look grateful instead of feeling resentful because of the slightest disrespect, otherwise, who will be willing to obey you and work for you in the future? First and second, that woman is a monk. If other monks know your attitude towards her, what do you think they will think? Do you still want to gain their support? One more thing, your Uncle Chen obviously has an unusual attitude towards that woman. Why didn't you tell me about this? If you had told me earlier, I wouldn't have called your Uncle Chen to the palace. Originally, I was counting on you. I could take the opportunity to establish a good relationship with him, but I'm afraid I won't be able to do so now. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 179. The Queen Mother looked at her great-grandson in front of her and felt worried. There was really no comparison between this man and other people. King Chen has already shown his talents at his age, outperforming all those of the same age and even those several years older than him. The dragon, colt, and phoenix are perfect for him. If he hadn't suffered from such an illness, according to the late emperor's love for him, he would have passed the throne to him despite everyone's objections. What would happen to her son? Not to mention the great-grandson, even among the grandchildren, none of them can compare with King Chen. Although she hated to admit it, this was the truth. So she often had a hidden worry in her heart, fearing that King Chen would be rebellious and push the emperor off the throne, and sit on it himself. However, after so many years of looking at him coldly, King Chen was not interested in that position at all. Goose Whitting left the palace and went directly back to his house. As soon as he got off his horse, he noticed movement in the shadow stone in his arms. He strode inside, eager to see the videos Hizzy sent him this time. However, when he arrived outside Hangang Hall, he found an uninvited guest. Under the plane tree outside the palace, a woman in purple is sitting on a stone bench, holding a book in her hand, reading quietly, turning a page from time to time, and her every move speaks of elegance and nobility. When Gu Switting approached, she seemed unaware and continued to be immersed in the fragrance of books, but her trembling eyelashes betrayed her mood at the moment. Inadvertently, he looked up and found Gu Switting standing not far away with his hands folded, looking at him, with a touching color flashing in his eyes, which was the joy and shyness of seeing his sweetheart. Brother Switting Pei Yuen put down the book and called softly. Gu Switting responded calmly, "What's the matter?" Pei Yuen's expression dimmed, and she forced a smile, "Can't I come to you if I have nothing to do?" Brother Switting, we. Realizing her faux pas, she stopped talking. Gu Switting said to the guard guarding the door of the palace, "Take Miss Pei to the front hall." Brother Switting Pei Yuen saw him entering the courtyard without looking back, and wanted to follow him, but was stopped by the guard at the door. There was a trace of unwillingness in his eyes, and he bit his lip and looked at the door dreamily. That's all. Compared to other women, Brother Schwetting was already kind to her. At least she could still enter Prince Chen's mansion. Can still say a few words to him from time to time. And it is difficult for others to even see him. Now that they are getting in touch slowly, she is just waiting for a suitable opportunity to reveal the matter again. She will not worry about not being able to get what she wants and marry into Prince Chen's palace. Just the moment she turned around, a woman's voice came from the hall. She suddenly raised her head, her eyes wishing to see through the wall and directly see the situation inside the palace. Who is that woman? When did Brother Schwetting hide a woman in his bedroom? What is their relationship? In an instant, countless questions popped up in her mind. She wanted to rush in and question them, but not to mention that the two unsightly guards in front of her would not let them go. What would happen if she rushed in? What qualifications does she have to question him? No, she must find out where that woman came from. Pei Yuen turned around and left, walking faster and faster, not even having time to take care of his inherent manners. The maid had no choice but to run after him. In the dormitory, Gu Switting's heartbeat skipped a beat when faced with Shen Yizi's straightforward inquiry. He naturally missed her, thinking about her day and night, and even dreamed about her. However, the word think rolled on the tip of his tongue several times, but he couldn't spit it out. He pinched the root of his nose, feeling a little annoyed. Simply skip this question and answer the previous one directly, just came out of the palace. He told her the situation when he entered the palace again, intending to remind her. After receiving the video, Shen Yizi first took a look at his face without paying attention to what he was saying. He only caught a few key words and watched it again. She was not worried at all, but she felt a little regretful. If I had known better, I wouldn't have removed the medicine from that brat and let him continue to be a monkey. He actually complained that she bullied him. Is he probably not aware of what real bullying looks like? Of course, she just said something angrily, but after hearing her words, Gu Switting thought carefully for a moment, and then summoned a hidden guard with him. Did you hear what the princess said? There was a yes in the air. Go. A smoke-like figure floated out. Gu Switting's move was not only to vent Shen Yizi's anger, but also to warn Gu Hongsoon, so that he would know what to say and what not to say in the future. Even if you are dreaming, you should be careful about the truth that disaster comes from your mouth. The two chatted for a while and talked about each other's recent lives. Of course, Shen Yizi was talking most of the time. She told about the patients she met, what Qingbao and Yuanbao did, all kinds of things, and the trivial things in life were always full of interest when she told them. Gu Switting watched and listened quietly, and the warm sun seemed to shine into his eyes as cold as snow. Although they are separated in two places, in such a long-term communication, the two people's understanding of each other is gradually deepening, and their relationship is becoming more and more thick. Okay, no more chatting, I have to do something big tomorrow, so I need to rest early and recharge my batteries. You also need to rest early. Good night. Okay. After posting this video, Shen Yizi really didn't contact him again. Moi. What does this mean? Gu Switting stroked her image on the image stone and wondered in his mind, what big thing was she talking about? Will there be any danger? Looking at her excitement, it should be a good thing. But I still can't help but feel worried. Fear arises out of love. He prides himself on being an indifferent person. After all, in the past 23 years, no one except his mother has been able to leave a mark on his heart. Until I met her, I tasted all the tastes of greed, anger, love, and jealousy. Even caused the demonic poison in the body to attack several times. However, if he were to choose again, he would still choose to meet her. Even, it would be nice to meet him earlier. Jiazhuang. As soon as he got up early in the morning, Shen Yizi put on his medicine basket, put on clothes that were convenient for movement, and went into the mountain. It's called medicine mining, but it's actually mainly for mining, digging the purple gold ore that hasn't been mined before. Before leaving, she temporarily entrusted the medical clinic to Wang Hexian and asked him to help take care of it. As an alchemist, his medical skills are also very good. As long as he does not encounter terminal diseases or too weird diseases, he can solve them. As for the family, with Jianwu and Kun San watching over her, she had nothing to worry about. Even if things don't work out, there are fairies and banyan tree spirits in the village who have developed spiritual wisdom. Once something happens, they can send a message to her immediately. As soon as he entered the mountain, Shen Yizi sent the Qingbao carried in the medicine basket into the space and let him play with the Yuanbao. She had Yi Chang in her left hand, a small frog squatting on her right shoulder, and holding a long staff in her hand, she went straight to the location of the mineral vein. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 180. When she arrived at the entrance of the mine she dug last time, she found that the formation she had laid out earlier had no trace of damage. It seemed that no one had discovered it. Shen Yizi went down to the mine and released the two puppets that he and Qin Kaiu had bought before. There are two puppets, one male and one female. They are both very good looking and have the strength of the first level of qi refining. Their intelligence is average, but their execution ability is very strong. They will complete whatever Shen Yizi says without compromise. It is really a good helper for home travel. Of course, the price is also very good, 199 points each. But in order to light up the purple gold mine here early and avoid long nights and dreams, the points are still worth spending. After all, these two puppets are not disposable. After digging the mine this time, they can still help her with other things. When the battery, spiritual stone, is used up, just recharge it. Eco-friendly, energy-saving, and convenient. And precisely because these two puppets have low intelligence and no emotions, she can arouse them without any sense of guilt. Yuan Bao is a living example. She doesn't know whether the seller sent the wrong goods or whether he has mutated and developed feelings. How can she regard him as Qingbao's substitute? He can only be raised as a son. Xiao Yi, work has started. Try to help me finish mining the purple gold mine here as soon as possible. Shen Yizi treated the two puppets humanely. She is a bad namer, so she simply named the two puppets with uppercase numbers. In this way, if there are other puppets in the future, you can also call down, such as Xiao San Xiao Si, without having to think too much. Xiao Yi and Xiao Er are indeed professional mining players. Their speed and efficiency are more than 10 blocks ahead of her, so she can just follow behind and pick them up all the way. At this rate, it will be dug in less than 3 days. Shen Yizi was in a very happy mood and released the two little guys Qingbao and Yuanbao for a while. The three of them happily had a picnic in the mine with purple light. The process was smoother than Shen Yizi expected. The next night, the mine was dug to the end, and the purple gold ore in the space had piled up like a mountain. Shen Yizi is not in a hurry to sell it yet. Anyway, the things are piled in the space and cannot escape. If we can find an opportunity to further process these purple gold ores, the points sold may be several times higher. In short, she is now aiming for points. Boom. Xiao Yi and Xiao Yi are accidentally dug out the mine, and at the end, an empty stone cave was revealed. Shen Yizi saw the coffin in the cave at a glance. Is it possible that she also dug an underground tomb? It feels a bit exciting to unintentionally act as a tomb robber while mining. But she soon realized something was wrong. In the cave, there was a solitary coffin without any burial objects. However, there were formations carved on the ground and stone walls. Soul-suppressing formation, Yi Chang said. The soul-suppressing array is generally used to suppress those evil spirits who cannot be killed but refuse to surrender. So, there is a fierce ghost suppressed in that coffin? Shen Yizi had goosebumps on his arms. In the original world, she was naturally an atheist, but here is a fantasy world of immortality. Although she has not seen it with her own eyes, there are souls, that is, ghosts, in this world. Isn't the soul-eating cone a magical weapon specially used to attack the soul? Should she go in now, kill the evil ghosts and do something for heaven, or should she turn a blind eye and turn around and leave? While thinking, Qiankai said, in addition to curing diseases and saving people, you can also gain merit by subduing demons and liberating evil ghosts. What is merit? Merits are points. Although this thing is invisible and intangible, it can be sensed and measured by Qiankai, and then converted into points that are actually useful to her. So, Shen Yizi decided to take this vote. Although she was a little panicked in her heart, she didn't show any fear on her face and sent a message to Yi Chang, "Is this evil ghost powerful?" Yi Chang muttered, "Snake Zinza," silently, "this formation looks to be quite old. Even if the devil had 2 brushes at the beginning, it should be withered by now and won't be able to achieve anything." After hearing this, Shen Yizi was completely relieved. "I decided to save this evil ghost. If it really can't be saved, it will be completely destroyed. It can be regarded as eliminating harm for the people. Please remember to do a good job for me later, auxiliary." Yu Chain nodded. Shen Yizi stepped into the cave and walked towards the coffin step by step. I don't know if it was her illusion or psychological effect, but she always felt like there was a sinister wind blowing around her, which was very penetrating. Shen Yizi clenched the soul-eating cone in his hand and encouraged himself in his heart. When dealing with real objects, she is not afraid even if the opponent is several times stronger than her, but when facing ghosts, she is really like a big girl getting on the sedan chair. A gloomy wind blew past her. The speed was so fast that she had no time to react. But her consciousness sensed that the thing had taken away the purse hanging from her waist. There are other creatures in this cave. Shen Yizi took out several luminous stones and shot them into the stone wall. In an instant, the darkness was dispelled and the cave became bright. However, she glanced around and saw no other creatures. Instead, she found her purse on the coffin. The evil ghost was suppressed in the coffin and couldn't get out. After all, the soul-suppressing array was still fine. So what exactly robbed her of her purse? Things seem a bit complicated. Shen Yizi's consciousness plowed the entire space over and over again, but he didn't find the thief. Finally, she set her sights on the coffin and continued to get closer. Arriving in front of the coffin, Shen Yizi put his hand on the coffin, preparing to push it away. Wow, a huge head suddenly appeared and shouted at her fiercely. Shen Yizi was startled, and subconsciously picked up the soul-eating awl and stabbed it. Ah, the thing was stabbed and screamed in pain. It turned around and disappeared into the coffin without a trace. Leave Shen Yizi in the same place with lingering fear. She saw clearly just now that she was a little girl with a big head and a small body. Her skin was pale and skinny, and her limbs were like matchsticks, so her head stood out very big. Is it possible that this little girl is the evil ghost who was suppressed? Yi Chang said, "No, this child is not a ghost." "What is that, a spirit?" No, it is a kind of existence between humans and ghosts. Shen Yizi found it hard to imagine, half human and half soul, how did it come about? One parent is a human and the other a ghost. Yi Chang looked at her strangely. What are you thinking about? How can a ghost give birth to a child if it doesn't even have a physical body? I guess it was the moment it was born that a death energy was injected into its body. It creates this unique existence. While the two were communicating, the originally peaceful coffin shook violently, as if there was something underneath that was eager to rush out. Shen Yizi and Yi Chang looked at each other, stepped forward and lifted the lid of the coffin with the soul eating all.